Jimmy Butler saga, because that's honestly what's been dominating my NBA headspace lately. It's like, what's going to happen here?
That's honestly what I'm looking out for too. Jimmy Butler and the whole saga with Miami, seeing Kevin Love post on his Instagram. It's just been really fun to follow along with. Even in, the mood probably around Miami and with the fans down there is probably more irritated than anything. As an outsider, admittedly, it's been really funny to just kind of see Kevin Love make so much light out of it. And I mean, you look at what's going on in Phoenix, some may point to Bradley Beal. I know he's been linked to the Bucks by a couple of reports. Those are really the two names that I've seen get floated out there. Cam Johnson's a dominant name. I'm sure we're going to get into that because we're
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
talking Cavs.
Oh, yeah.
But other than those names, I haven't really seen or heard anything around team improvement because you just mentioned it. It's so hard to make a trade nowadays because of how the aprons are set up and salary cap and all that stuff that Eric Pincus is a lot better at than me. And, I don't want to try to make sense of any of it because I would rather have somebody tell you the truth than just make stuff up. But it's hard to make a trade now with the amount of money being paid and obviously the penalties and the different apron sets of first apron, second apron, and then obviously luxury tax that goes into effect. So those are the things that I'm looking out for. Just what you mentioned, and then Bradley Beal and Cam Johnson are the ones that pop up for me.
The latest twist in this Jimmy Butler thing is just fascinating because he gets suspended yesterday.
I laughed when I got that notification, dude. Like
Me
he gets
too.
suspended for 7 games early in the season. Then he comes back. I see Kevin Love post up like the Wolf of Wall Street thing, and he plays for 2 or 3 games, and then again he misses a team plane, clearly on purpose. He's wearing sneakers that are purple and orange and black after the fact that he had his hair dyed purple a few weeks ago,
Yeah, which
and
is
now you
flagrant, in
got
my opinion.
all of this stuff just trolling and trying to find ways to make this entertaining and talking about how the whole story is going to come out. And that's why I'm not trying to side anyways, but just the entire scenario and situation is just so funny to me on the outside looking in all the way up here in Ohio. I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm not going to lie.
It's crazy. He comes back, he gets suspended because he missed the flight, and just overall, just like, I mean, what a lack of a better way of putting it, what a dick move, honestly. Just like
It's a cat and mouse game, Bryan.
all
That's
the
how it
shit
goes.
going on, all the shit going on, you missed the flight, and then on top of that, you have Gambo, who does, I believe, radio out in Phoenix, reporting that Bradley Beal would waive his no trade clause and be open to joining the Milwaukee Bucks if such a trade were to happen, because the Jimmy Butler thing is going to have to take maybe 4 or 5 teams legitimately. Like 3 might not be enough. It may need to be 4 or 5 teams. And then Chris Haynes comes out and reports, no, Bradley Beal doesn't want to go to Milwaukee, essentially. So it's like, all right, cool. We have 2 very credible sources here, one nationally, one locally in Arizona. And it's like they have different information, presumably coming from different people. I don't know who's talking to who. Obviously, Gambo seems very well sourced up in Phoenix, as Ethan Skolnick has talked about on 5 on the Floor, for example, and others. So this is just kind of where we are. So, all right, trade deadline predictions. You can hit Jimmy, you can hit whatever. I have one immediately. I have a Jimmy one too, but I wanna get to that in a second because that one's a little less fully fleshed out than this other one I have. But trade deadline predictions. What's the main thing that you think is going to happen between now and the deadline?
Going to happen is, I think, Jimmy. We were talking about Jimmy before.
Sure.
Lower kind of marginal moves like Chris Boucher's been playing really well for the Raptors. This is what we do when we talk about trades, right? We go after the spin type of players, the ones that are not the flashy names but can give your team an impact. Like something like what the Suns just did by acquiring Nick Richards. Those are the types of moves that I think you see at these deadlines because, again, we go back, making the home run trade might be a thing of the past with the apron.
So you don't think there's going to be a big trade? Is that your prediction?
Like home run trade, maybe not. Like, do you consider obviously Jimmy Butler is a big name and Bradley
Yes.
Beal's a big name, but
Yes.
are those home run hitting trades like a James Harden? Like,
I,
are they in that echelon to you?
I think Jimmy is.
Okay.
I
All right.
think
Well,
I think Jimmy still is. Like, I'll put it to you this way: can he swing the championship? Depending on where he goes, yeah. The problem is he wants to go to Phoenix, and if he goes to Phoenix, I don't think he does. I think he makes them better. I think Jimmy makes Phoenix better. Like, I think unilaterally, people will, yeah, he's better than Bradley Beal. He makes them better. But does he make Phoenix like a threat to Oklahoma City in a series? He makes that series interesting, but Oklahoma City should still beat that team in 6 games.
I think Jimmy's really well conditioned, but his body's kind of caught up to him too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also where that comes into play. I mean, just scanning the standings, like, I don't know, could Orlando use a shooter, right? Like, could they go out and try and find somebody that can make jump shots because they're at the bottom of the league in 3-point percentage?
Mm-hmm.
You look at a team like the Grizzlies, who I think could be at the top of the West if they really put together just another piece on that team.
They're a Jimmy team for me, but they don't seem to be interested in extending him, so Jimmy doesn't want to go there.
And that's where this is also kind of a push and shove. Like, if Jimmy wants to get paid and be a primary guy, where is that exactly? You know, like, like, not being disrespectful to Jimmy, but Jimmy's in his mid-30s. This is just the reality of how it goes. Like, what was Chris Paul making at his age? You know, like,
Uh,
after all the big, like,
I mean, well, here's the thing: if you're Jimmy, I get why he wants his money. He probably,
100%.
I don't think he wanted to play this long. I mean, not this long. I think he was going to retire after this contract, and then he probably looked up and saw what Kawhi got, and saw what Paul George got, and he's probably like, "What? Like, like I need to stick around. I need to get one more big contract." I think that's what it is, and also from a human perspective, where you come from, where he comes from, like you want every fucking dollar you can get.
Especially for the amount of energy that he spent in the bubble in that final series. You see what he laid out on the line there, and then
Yeah.
obviously what came after. And we're going to hear the whole story eventually, but were there any empty promises? We've seen Pat Riley do stuff in the past that has not exactly been following through on his words. Hear it from Dwayne Wade before, like, that he wasn't paid after all those years, despite what he gave to the franchise. Like, trying to find a middle ground here and not be too one-sided about it, because Jimmy does probably have some valid points. He's also thinking, I think, a little bit too much about what he's still capable of. But
Do you think he goes somewhere though? Yes or no?
I think he has to. If he, I mean, are you going to
Yeah.
continue suspending him the rest of the year for 2 games if he misses flights?
Do you think it's
Like,
Phoenix?
I,
Listen,
yeah.
you think he just ends up getting his way? See, I'm
I
not
think
so
he ends
sure.
up getting his way.
I'm not so sure about that. Like, I could see Pat Riley and the Heat front office just being like, "Can we find another team who will take him? Can we find a team that will take him and even potentially waive him? Like, if we
Going
get
into
the right matching
buyouts now,
salary,
huh?
like there." It's not a super clean process. The apron gets in the way of like who will be able to take them on after that. So if you're Phoenix, for example, you can't allow that to happen. But
Yeah,
if you're
I agree.
Miami, if you're Miami, you can't operate, and I doubt that they are. You can't operate under the standpoint of, hey, we absolutely have to send him to Phoenix and give him what he wants, so to speak. You're trying to find the best deal,
How do we get
right?
this man back to where he started?
Chicago.
Yeah,
Well,
because they've got their own kind of sets of problems. That saw a report about how the front office is kind of at a crossroads in a way of trying to figure out where they are as an organization. Consistently for the last like 3 or 4 years, I think it was last week they had the same record as they've had in the like last 3 or 4 seasons. So, like, it's not like they've gotten worse, but it's not like they've gotten better, even though the talent has changed and the coaches have been different, and it hasn't mattered at this point. Apparently, Zach LaVine's been there for like 7, 8 seasons now, believe it or not.
I don't think he
Nikola
makes sense.
Vucevic.
I don't think LaVine makes sense for Miami. Prediction wise, I'll just say I think Jimmy Butler gets traded. Doesn't go to the Suns.
Okay.
I'll just say that. Not to
All
say
right.
he won't wind up there in some, fucking imperfect way or whatever. I
I
want
wish
to
we could
hit.
keep talking about this because I saw the press release, the I'm back, and I about lost my mind after the suspension. And then he comes back for 2 or 3 games and he's right back suspended again because he didn't go and get on time for a flight. It's just
The-
amazing. It's an amazing saga. I love the NBA. I do. I love
Me
the
too. I
NBA.
swear. Dota dead. Spurs question mark. I don't think the Spurs would want any parts. Sidewalk Publishing trade Jimmy for Dyson Daniels, Clint Capella, and Larry Nance Jr. I think Atlanta.
Why would Atlanta do that?
I think also if you're the Heat, I don't think you have Khalil Ware now and Bam. Obviously, you have Bam. I don't think they're gonna need Clint Capella. Diamond Hicks. Why is LaVine not a good fit for Miami? Tyler's getting blitzed every night. Well, Diamond. I read his contract earlier. I'm not sure that he would be excited about that. And I am just like, I don't know. Do you really want to tie up more than 70 million annually in Tyler Hero and Zach LaVine when you have another 20 whatever it is on Terry Rozier that brings you to like the mid 90s in terms of salary? With then you add Duncan Robinson and you're at like what 115 million roughly. Just quick math, real quick. Like, do you want to tie all your money into those four guards? Like, I'm not all of it, but like a good chunk of it. I'm not sure you want to do that. And if I'm Chicago, like, what am I getting back? Levine for Jimmy is off like numbers wise, so you need to like put in some filler in there because Jimmy makes approximately 6 million more than Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's also signed. Well, he has a player option in 2026, 2027. The Heat don't seem to want salary beyond 2026 because that seems like a year where free agency may return in some form. It won't be 2010, but there could be good players who don't get extended by then, who may hit the market because teams are going to have a hard time keeping teams together. And they may elect to, like Paul George with the Clippers, all right, let him walk and just have the space and figure it out later. I think we are going to see more of that in some cases. I think the Heat were ready to do that and probably still are with Jimmy Butler to bring it back full circle. So there's my answer to that. Predictions wise. So we have Zach LaVine, speaking of going to either Orlando or Denver. I have Cameron Johnson going to OKC. We have Jimmy Butler. I have him going not to Phoenix.
I have him going to Phoenix. We
Yeah.
talked about Julius Randle. We
I
got
may
we got into
change
some good stuff there.
I may change my mind on Jimmy Butler, but like I initially I was like, okay, they'll probably send him to Phoenix. But now I'm like, man, I could just see Pat Riley just like, man, fuck this guy. I ain't sending him where he wants
Don't
to go.
forget, like you got Chris Boucher. I'm sure a team will check in on Jonas Valanciunas or like the Malcolm
Yes.
Brogdons of the world. Like
I
those
think that
veterans on like those lower teams always look out for those too.